Hey YouTube, and thanks for watching Junkworks Garage. On my toolbox here I got this Tenhulzen automotive wheel alignment system here. And I started this video a little bit different. I was gonna do a Jeep alignment and kind of introduce this at the same time, but the video was definitely getting way too long. Yet again, nobody would watch it if it's too long. Besides, there is a lot on just this that needs to be kind of addressed, I guess you would say. So what I decided to do is kind of cut this video and make one specifically on this, and then if you want to see the alignment one, go check it out on my Jeep playlist, Jeep Liberty playlist. So this is just going to be about this particular Tenhulzen front end alignment system. And I'm going to go through, kind of show you how I'm using it, go through and kind of show the different ways to put it together and things like that. So, and then at the end of this video, if you stick around, I'm going to give you several tips after the fact that I kind of figured out that would make it a lot easier for you to actually use this machine or use this system. And then also at the very end, if you still want to stick around, I put this all together. I show you how to, from beginning to end, kind of how to put this whole thing together so that you can use all the parts and pieces in it. This is my first time doing it, so we're kind of working together, and I've done a little bit of preliminary stuff and realized that this lift, although it'll make it nicer for doing adjustments, because you want to do your adjustments with the car on the ground as level as you can possibly get it. Which this is the most level thing on my garage, is being on this lift. So we're going with that. Next thing, you want to make sure your steering wheel starts out in the center where you want it. Now, I'm reading these instructions. We're supposed to take the plate that is not meant to hold the gauge, or that doesn't have this piece right here, the slot that's kind of crooked there, and we're supposed to lay it kind of upside down with this angled portion pointed towards the tire, about 8 inches from the tire. And this is what you use to kind of look through that one to find out your angle. Next, we're going to take this and off the tire here, we're going to get an idea, or close to, of about 8 inches, somewhere in there. And instead of using the Tenhulzen plate there, I have this big long thing, although I probably could set this over here and just kind of lay it there. I'm not comfortable doing that. Instead of that, I'm going to put this in its place. You want to have it as parallel to the car as you can get it. Just has to be close. This does not have to be perfect. Even according to the directions, it says it's just got to be close. It doesn't have to be exact. Then you have this slot right here, which you want towards the back of the car, whichever side you're working on. Right now we are on the right hand side, and you want that towards the back of the car, sitting inside the wheels with these butted up against the wheels. And I personally am putting it as close to the center as I can. It doesn't say you need to do that, but I'm going to do that, and I'm going to make it as level as I can. And then we're going to take that slot that's at the angle here, and we're going to turn the tire inward. This is the front of the tire, this is the back of the tires, so you have reference. We're going to take the front of the tire and we're going to turn it in, or towards the inside there, until this lines up with the edge of this as we're sighting it through. So go ahead and turn it to the left or towards the wall. So something I thought about after the fact, I thought this might be slippery enough, but my wife's having a little bit of difficulty turning the tire. I probably should have put something like even a piece of paper or a piece of thin sheet metal or something under this would probably help, but we are where we're at now, so we're going to go ahead and try and make it work. So my wife just had to turn the key on because it locked the steering wheel out, so you probably want to start out that way with the key on. Alright, go ahead and keep turning it. Okay, wait. Yeah. Turn back a little bit the other way. Towards me. Okay, well. Alright. So the edge of this right here, I can see it right through this hole, and it's going actually from center to center is kind of how I'm eyeballing it through here. And we are really good. So now we are going to turn this on edge here, straight up and down. I'm going to get it yet again as parallel as I can get it and as close to the center of the wheel as I can get it. And then we are going to turn this on. Okay. And then zero it out. Then we're going to actually take this, flatten it out again on here, and have the slot towards the front of the car now. And then we're going to turn the tire back the other way until the edge of the straight edge is centered up back again in this hole in the same fashion as we did the other way. So go ahead and turn it the other way. Now we're going to go ahead and do the same thing right here, fairly flat and straight, and good to the center as we can. And we're going to take this number, and it is 1.30 in my case. So 1.30, I'm going to set this down and write that down. So now, according to what it says here, you take your number, which mine was 1.30, and you multiply it by 2. So I got 2.60 degrees is my number that I have right now on this tire, or on this wheel, I should say. Now we're going to do that on the other side. I'm not going to show that to you. And then we will go further. I don't know if that's good, bad, or otherwise. I need to look it up, see what we need. Well, I've been looking at my book, and all it says is go have it done professionally. So obviously I'm not doing that, so I need to go in and figure it out. So since I'm going to try not to mess with the left-hand side, I need to make this right side plus or minus 5 degrees of this 3.60 degrees to keep it even on both sides within a certain tolerance there. So now we are going to calibrate this, and it says it wants this all the way out. And then we're going to pop this off here, and I'm going to face this up. That's the way they have it faced in the computer here. So I will show that to you. I'm going to face it so that the buttons are going to be on the bottom. Okay. And then I'm going to face this back this way so I can see it. And then you're going to take this, and this in my case is the ground. This is always going to be where the ground is. Now unfortunately this will not sit on there on these as far as that's concerned. So I am going to go ahead and get it as far from one side to the other. And another point I have here is I have these little bumps. So I need to make sure I don't have it on a bump over here and then on a flat over here. I'm going to find the best spot I can that is pretty even. I'm going to turn this on, and I'm going to zero it out. So this now and forever will be, as far as the way we're doing this adjustment, 0 or flat on the ground. Now it says if you don't have flat enough ground and that kind of stuff, you can use a board or a metal pipe or metal bar or something across the ground to make it as flat as you can. But I believe we're as close as you're going to get when it comes to being on a lift here. So I'm going to go with that. So then we're going to pick this up. We are going to actually take this and flip it so that the buttons are on the bottom yet again. And we're going to be measuring it this way. Now I got to set this also where it will match up with the wheel here. And that right there. Now I'm going to sit down and read it and write it down. So right now we are at 1.25 according to this. Now I'm going to go back to my little information that I found on the internet. Well, I'm not going to lie, I've been messing with the camber now, and I've had a little bit of difficulty getting repeatable numbers. Now, I have zeroed this out, setting like I showed you, and then I went to this side and did this, and then I realized it does say to just do both measurements based off that first zeroed out number that you got. So I've done that, and the only times I could repeat the numbers is if I sat here and very carefully put this in like exactly the same spot and then kind of eyeballed it to where I'm as close to purely level and in the center of the wheel. I also made sure these were adjusted where, because there's kind of a spot in the wheel where it's flat and then it kind of curves out. So I've got it kind of on that flat spot. And by doing those couple of things, I've been able to repeat the numbers 3 or 4 times now and get really close, or within spec of those numbers. We'll say the 0.05 or 0, what is it? I think it says, what does it say? It'll say it'll drive you nuts if you try and get it right. So it's within 0.5 degrees. So I'm well within that, and I've been able to repeat it a few times and get the same numbers. So for camber on the right hand side right here, it is, the top is in and it's 1.25. And put the little point there. 1.25 inward at the top. On the other side is 0.80 outward at the top. So instead of the tire being in, it is actually facing out a little bit. Now I'll kind of show you how I can tell if it's in or out. I did this video earlier, so I'm just going to stick that in there. So if it doesn't exactly mesh, that's why. So if you, I don't know if you can see it, but up here there's a little arrow. So if the tire is facing out at the top, it would be up. And then now I turn it this way and the arrow is down here on the bottom down here. So that would mean the tire is facing, well, the top of the tire is facing in or the top of the tire is facing out, based on how those arrows go. Alright, side note, a couple things I have noticed with this is really get these snug down right here, both in this area here, but also this part right here, because that kind of threw some of my measurements off at first. So make sure you get those good and snug, and maybe check them. I've been checking them every time I go to use this thing just to make sure it's snug. So now it is time to do the toe. Admittedly, I've been having problems trying to figure this out. As I figure things out, I'm trying to film it the right way. So I'm not sure how this is going to cut together, but regardless, we got our toe, which is the front of your tire basically going in or out from each other. You want it on a 4-wheel drive, I believe, and a rear-wheel drive. You want it towed slightly in. According to some research I've done and some stuff I've heard, front-wheel drives you want slightly towed out. You need to do your own research on that. But regardless, this is 4-wheel drive, mostly rear-wheel drive unless you use the 4-wheel drive. So I'm going to tow it slightly in, about a 1/4 inch or a little less if possible. But right now we're going to be using these plates. So I got this plate set up here, got it set up on the other side the same way, and something I had a problem with was actually getting it on the tire and so that it was pushing against the wheel right here without it being pretty wobbly. And I realized you actually do need to thread these out here So tighten the one on the inside, and then so that way this part's tight, and then thread these out until they kind of touch the wheel, and that's made that plenty sturdy so it doesn't want to wobble around now. And I feel like I can get a good solid measurement now. And like I said, I have it set up the same on the other side. Now we need to take the tape measure, and my wife's on the other side. I'm going to pass that over to her, and she's going to hook it into this right here. Now, according to directions, we're kind of doing this backwards. This is where you're supposed to hook it, and then you measure it on the other side. But there's also a slit like this on the other side, and then this slit here. And I've just been with the two of us having her put it in the slit on the other side, and just bringing it in, and then testing my measurements on this side. I haven't been using this one, and I did do a test, and the measurements were identical from regardless of how you did it. So if you do it this way, this right here, you got to make sure that it fits kind of in here, and then it kind of gets stuck. You can't like put it here and then try and pull it back, or it won't go. So that is one thing to be said about bringing it in this one and measuring it this way. But since we have two of us, it's not making a big difference. So I got everything set up, and I'm going to make it work this way. When you're in.
Okay.
So we are 70 and what is this? 70 and 3/8. Is that holding there? Did I just pull on it too much?
It feels pretty solid.
Okay, so just a little under 70 and 3/8.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna leave that one there. That one back there.
Okay.
Good. This one is 70 and a little over a quarter. So, number one tip, don't get anal about it. It's got a very good gauge with it, but even in the directions it says it can be 0.5 or 0.50 out of spec in any direction, I believe is what it is. Yet again, you'll have to do your own research. But don't expect it to be exactly the same numbers every time, even though you didn't change anything, because it can be, you know, 0.5 or so off in either direction for sure. So that's the number one thing. Don't get completely anal about it. Number two, you're not an expert at this, so you're probably not going to get it perfect in the end anyway. Number three, doesn't matter who you take it to, it's probably not going to be perfect. Yet again, taken mine to several places, and I've had some good stuff done and some poor stuff done. Just depends on what happens. Pretty much anymore, there's nobody out there that can align a car properly, in my opinion. Number four. This is the big one. This is what got me off, which I should have known better, and I was adjusting things, and how should I put this? I was adjusting things and then trying to check them. And I was adjusting more than one thing at a time. And I should know better than that. I know that doesn't really work that way, but I was getting frustrated with it, and I was just trying to make things work. So, here's the deal. Adjust one thing at a time. I started with caster, went to camber, then to toe. Once I just worked on caster, and then went to camber, and then to toe, that's when things started kind of coming together. So, first of all, one thing at a time. One adjustment at a time. Second, make those tiny adjustments. I was adjusting things too much at a time, yet again in frustration, trying to get things to move around, and it just wasn't making sense to me. It took time to kind of learn the equipment and figure out things. I'll talk about the equipment at the very end here. Number five, I believe it's number five. Every time you make an adjustment, pull the car all the way out of your garage and back in, to where it is. That's the part that got me. I was getting lazy and it was driving me nuts. Honestly, it's been 100+ degrees outside and we have fires, so it's just horribly smoky around here. So pulling it in and out of my garage was not appealing to me. But do it. And I was trying to pull it like to the end of my lift and then bring it forward kind of thing, or as far as I could without opening the door and bring it forward. That wasn't really working just to do that. I finally started pulling it clear out of the garage. I was hitting the brakes. I was kind of steering it, messing with the suspension as much as I could in my driveway, pulling it back in as straight as I could, straightening out the steering wheel, and then I'd make another adjustment. Or then I would check it with the equipment, and then I would make another adjustment and do it all over again. Honestly, you'll spend less time if you spend the time to pull it in and out of your garage. That is one downside to having it up on a lift. The upside is I can adjust it while it's sitting on the ground, basically, which is what you need. You need the suspension to be loaded or you won't get accurate information. So I can adjust it and do the information up on the lift. I will kind of show you how I set this up as well to do that. You're going to have your gauge here and this one here. This is the one you're going to use the most. But I did notice that having it a little this way or a little that way, or having it straight but kind of like tilted this way or this way, I really did find that I needed to get it dead on center. I would, you know, eyeball it as good as I could and have it in exactly the same spot each time I did it as well. And these wheels have kind of weird shapes and bumps, so as flat a spot on the wheel as you can. I think the wheels made this more difficult for me as far as these Jeep wheels. I think if you had a more flat edge on your wheel, unlike these, it would make life easier as well. But I did notice I needed to get these just dead on to really get accurate measurements that were within spec all the time. Started out on my own as well, and that wasn't going to work. It would have taken me a year to get it by myself. So I would definitely suggest you have another person to help you turn the wheel, and because you got to be looking at that thing and get it a certain amount. Now I'll show you kind of my setup. But you might have kind of noticed my setup here. I have these right here. This is flooring from my bathroom. Wasn't slick enough, so I also put an old license plate underneath the tire so that the license plate would slide on top of this. That worked really good. That helped a lot as well. And then I have these on here and hooked down, mainly so this won't move back and forth when you turn the wheel back and forth. I don't think it would have, but I just didn't want anything to move. And then you'll notice the stick I'm using here. You put that 8 inches from your tire, and that's how you do your caster. If you watch this video, you'll kind of understand what I am talking about. And then I put this 8 inches, lined it up as good as I could with the car. You want it as straight with the car as you can. So that's one other thing about the lift. You know, just because it's straight with the lift, edge of the lift here, doesn't mean the car is straight on the lift. So you got to make sure that this is straight with the car. And then I would take a couple of clamps and I clamped it to here, a couple of spring clamps, and clamped it to here and did my measurement. I'm going to go ahead, I know where these go, I'm going to go ahead and put some of their super glue, probably of some sort. Well, maybe. There's actually a cap on here. I didn't notice that. See if there's a thing, yep, little thing here to poke it with. Alright, now we'll put this back on. Now we'll throw some glue on here. Just open that up a little bit. I'm going to put a little bit, not quite all the way to the end if I can help it, but most of the way. And just stick that in all 4 corners here fairly evenly. I don't think this is a rocket science thing. As long as it sticks there, it's basically gonna just keep this from making noise more than anything. I don't think it's really something that's absolutely positively have to have on here to make it work. Probably actually keeps it from, oh boy, got my finger stuck. There's not enough glue, I don't think. But what I was about to say is it probably actually keeps it from sliding as well. Nope. I would say there's definitely not enough glue, at least in my package here. Luckily, I have some super glue here, but it seems the cap has super glued itself on. So hopefully it's not completely toast. It may be. It doesn't feel like it inside. Oh, it's coming out. Alright, so this is just some stuff that I got from Harbor Freight, actually, in one of their sale things. We are going to just let that dry. I'm going to go ahead and put that on there and see if it works next time. So I got the instructions here and I've kind of looked at them. And we're going to start putting this thing together. Now you want the one that the angle finder goes on to do all this to. And you're going to start out, and you got these two longer shafts here. One has the bolt kind of sticking out of it, or some thread sticking out of it. And the other one, you want the one that's just plain. And then we're going to take, there's a little lock washer here, I don't know if you can see that, and the only metal screw that's in the whole thing. You want to put your lock washer on that, then through this hole on this side, except for the fact it doesn't fit in there, we're going to screw that in. I'm going to have to get a screwdriver because it doesn't actually screw into there, or it doesn't actually fit in the hole. So I'm going to go ahead and screw this up in there. It's a loose fit, but it doesn't quite fit into the hole quite right. It doesn't appear. Alright. Then we're going to take, there's a washer on this side right here, and then screw this on top of that. And this one is not adjustable, so you want to go ahead and tighten that down decently. I'm going to go ahead and use a crescent on it just to kind of hold it. We're not cranking down on this at all. We're just kind of giving it a bit of a snug fit so it doesn't move. Okay, that's all I'm going to do. Then we have this one here, and it appears you take the other washer. It only comes with two washers and one lock washer. One washer and lock washer goes on this one. This one here needs to slide, so you put the washer on this one here. So washers tend to have more of kind of a smooth, almost rounded side, and then a flat side that's a little bit less smooth. I'm going to make sure that smooth side is facing towards this, and then put that in there. And then you got this black slider piece, which kind of is self-explanatory, kind of goes in there, and you're going to lock that down. That one there you need to be able to unlock, move it wherever it is you need it, up this rail. It'll go all the way there and all the way there, like that. So that one you don't want to snug down. We got all these short ones here. We got 4 of these short ones here. Those take a thumb screw on one side of all those. So we got these here. Now when you're using this, you're going to take that, put that there, and put one of the thumb screws through the little slot here, and yet again carefully, if it's not going easy, you're cross-threading in it, you're going to put that on like this. Now I'm not quite ready to use it right now. These also go on here like this when you're using them. And then also there's another slot over here which another one of these goes into. So all said and done, you'll have two of these sticking out here and here, these sticking up here. This one you'll be able to adjust. Then you're going to take your other one here, and yet again, these go in the slots here. When you're putting it away, they'll go on the opposite side. That's the only thing you need to do with this one, is have these here so they can lean against your wheel. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 extra ones of these. Kudos to them for giving you a few extra parts that probably will break. And there's supposed to be a peel and stick thing for this that I either did not receive or have not found in anything. A piece of Velcro. Well, I know this already went on way too long. Now get out there and get your junk working. Thanks for watching Junkworks Garage, where I'm proud to say I'm a jack of all and obviously master of none. You all have a good one.